Hi, my name is Mia, and I live in Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. My first experience in the Boundary Waters was in August of 2017. My parents and I went up for about a week, um, just before school started, again, just for kind of a little getaway. And they had been up there before, but I hadn't, and I had an experience that I will never forget. So, nature has always been a pretty important part of our family, and just making sure to take the time to experience the world around us has always been a big part of what we do. Whether it be, taking hikes on weekends or just going out for walks if you had a stressful day and that kind of thing. I've always found solace in going outside if and I've been able to think through problems that I've had and just overall relax. And so it's been something that I've really valued. But I never really realized how healing it could be until I went to the Boundary Waters. So 2016 and 2017 were pretty difficult years for me personally, and 2017 in particular. So I was diagnosed with epilepsy in February of 2017, and that diagnosis really changed my world and changed the way I lived life. I had to quit sports, which was something that was a big part of my life at the time. And that really, it was tough. I had friends that, I no longer really saw that I had known for the majority of my life. And now looking back on it, I realized the impact that it had on my mental health. At the time I didn't really realize, but it definitely had a big effect there. And so that year was difficult. And so just before school started again, we decided to go and take a little time off. And so we got up there, and I didn't know what to expect. I knew that it would be beautiful because I'd seen pictures, but I didn't know what to expect. And it was so magical when I got up there. So I remember about 4 days into our trip, we had gone on hikes and we had done classic things, but we decided to go on a day-long canoe trip. And so uh, so we packed up our canoe and we rowed across two lakes, and then we reached some place where we had to portage, and we were not experienced enough to portage. So we decided to just haul up our canoe and go for a little hike and then return back to our campsite. And I remember we came across this series of little waterfalls, and it was so gorgeous. We were remote enough. We weren't very deep into the Boundary Waters by any means, but we were remote enough that you couldn't really hear anything except for the rush of the water and the sounds of the wildlife, the birds chirping, the crickets chirping. It was beautiful. There was a little wind that rustled through the trees, and it was the most beautiful day. The sky was like bright blue with no clouds, and the sun was shining, and it was warm. And we just went out and we sat on some rocks, and we just watched the water and watched the wildlife. And that was something that was just so incredibly calming. I never expected to be so calmed by just watching nature do what it does, And we sat there for at least 45 minutes and just observed. And there was just a sense of peace that I had never really experienced before. And that occurring, or coming off of an awful year, it was something that I really value. And I remember going back from that particular, canoe trip, and then we spent the last few days of our trip, and then we returned home. But I remember coming away from that trip and just remembering that feeling of true inner peace. And it's something that I've carried with me to this day. That, anytime that I feel like really, really stressed about school or life, I'm able to sort of transport myself back to that image of looking through the trees and, hearing the water and that sort of thing, and just remembering how magical that was. And I don't think that I would be where I am today if it wasn't for having that experience. It was incredible. And saving the boundary waters is extremely important for so many reasons, but to take the possibility of someone else having that experience, to me, is devastating. And I really wish that everyone can have a similar experience to mine that would truly help them find kind of what they're looking for, because I feel like truly nature and the boundary waters can help them find it. Thank you.